comedy is not allowed. Who out there in podcast land loves comedy or likes comedy? I'm one of them, just to let you know. I love comedy. I love going to comedy clubs, watching comedians. Don't you, Chris? I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. You want to know why? Because I don't just like laughing at jokes and laughing at others, but I also like laughing at myself. That's comedy, right? Part of comedy is the ability to laugh at yourself, not just laugh at others. And you have to have the right frame of mind as a human being when you're going into a comedy club, because you have to understand, hey, there could be a comedian today. For example, I'll go to a comedy club and I'll intentionally see someone I've never heard of before, because you never know. It could be the next great comic. He could be the next Robin Williams, right? I mean, Robin Williams went from this nobody to this explosive comic that was on sitcoms and then in motion pictures. I think he even won an Academy Award, actually, as well. Other comedians have done the same. You know, Billy Crystal, I mean, just go right down the list. They became motion picture actors, not just like every day. So to me, that's part of the coolness of going to a comedy club, because I'm going to see someone I've never heard before. And you might discover someone who is a true great comedian and maybe even a great actor. So when you go to a comedy club, you have to have that understanding that the person you're listening to might be really bad, which in and of itself is funny. You know, like a really bad comedian who actually thinks that they're a real comedian is funny. I mean, how can you not laugh at that? I mean, it's likewise, you might have a comedian like the old Don Rickles, his entire shtick was to make fun of people in the audience. From the second he got up there to the second he sat down, he made fun of people in the audience. And then you have the kind of self-deprecating comedian like Rodney Dangerfield. All right. You know, all he did was make fun of how he made fun of himself, like how awful his life was. How awful, how his dog didn't like him. His wife didn't like him. He didn't like his wife. His life was just terrible. It was funny. So part of the mindset in going into a comedy club is to understand that you were there to laugh. You paid to get in. So you're going there knowing that you're putting yourself at the risk of laughing or hearing something that you still laugh at, but you might necessarily disagree with, but you're in a comedy club. The whole purpose is to blow off steam. Having understood that, ladies and gentlemen, and having said that, an irate woman calls a comedian a racist, and it doesn't go well for her. So this is one of the reasons we're talking about this on Mark and Millennials today, because there are comedy clubs across the country that are having this issue, namely where you have that one person or one small group of people who paid to get into a comedy club and then find themselves offended by jokes. That's the whole point of jokes. So a heckler unsuccessfully attempted to brand comedian, Troy Bond is his name, by the way, the comedian. The heckler tried to say he was a racist during his recent stand-up show. A woman in the audience accused Troy Bond of racism after he made a joke about voting for President Joe Biden, while at the same time referred to himself as the most, quote, pro-anti-Trump comic, which I'm not even sure what that means, right? And I think that was part of the joke. He's the most pro-anti-Trump. So I guess what he's saying is he's anti-Trump, so he's the biggest, most pro-anti-Trump that's out there. So he says that he voted for Joe Biden and that he's the most pro-anti-Trump comic, which probably would make you think, like, what the heck does that mean? Probably part of the point. And Troy, the comedian, attempted to lighten the mood with more jokes directed at her just because she kept interrupting him, but then ordered that she be removed from the premises because she basically was calling him a racist, and then decided to hijack his show because, God forbid, she was offended. She was offended. Remember, He didn't even say he liked Donald Trump. He said he was anti-Trump and the most pro-anti-Trump person out there, and said that he voted for Joe Biden. But he was making jokes about these things, right? Most of his jokes were non-political. But naturally, this particular guest decided to make it political. So we have 2 clips on this because I think this is something that is worth teaching today in probably colleges. Because usually, unfortunately, most comedy today has a lot of, profanity in it, which is probably not even necessary to be funny, but that just seems to be the way it is. But certainly in college, it would be great to teach how it's important to laugh at yourself and laugh at others. Isn't it funny? We would even have to teach this. Why is that necessary? But apparently it is. So we have 2 clips on this. Here's the first clip where Troy Bond, the comedian, is interacting with this guest, this audience member, who decides to hijack the show and make it all about her. We have the clip, and here it is.
No, a white person trying to make fun of black people.
See, now you're crying, and I was just trying to make you laugh.
No, don't do that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now I'm gonna make fun. I was trying to be empathetic.
It wasn't funny.
It was not.
No. I don't care. You try to laugh at that shit.
How dare I at a comedy club? She came here for a TED Talk.
That's right. First of all, she makes it about herself, the audience member. She's offended, naturally. Right away, that's somebody on the left. I'm offended in a comedy club. Imagine that. And then, of course, he responds. He's like, you're in a comedy club? I mean, where'd you think you were going? And then she uses the R word. You're a racist. Now, to be fair, Troy Bond was saying jokes and telling jokes, I should say, about people who are white, who are black, who are Hispanic, as well as all kinds of jokes, mixing them all in there. And the audience loved it because he made fun of everyone. But this individual decided to make it about her. Doesn't matter that you have 40, 50, 60 people in the audience. That's what liberals do. It's about me. I'm offended. How dare you tell a joke? I'm in a comedy club. And he's like, well, maybe, did you think you're coming to a TED Talk? Were you going to a TED Talk? I mean, where you're interacting with the person giving the TED Talk and telling them how you disagree with them because it's some sort of political policy matter. So then Troy Bond realized that this individual was not going to stop. They were going to continue to hijack his show. So he asked the security that was there, because believe it or not, today in comedy clubs, you need security for this type of person. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need security for conservatives that go to comedy clubs. You need security for the nutty liberals, for the nutty progressives that are coming to these comedy clubs. That is no lie. That is the truth. And so he decides to ask the security. He just says it on the microphones. Yeah, security, let's take her out. And he does it like really kind of nonchalantly. And she gets really upset. And of course, she's crying now. Can you imagine? There's no crying in a comedy club. Complete meltdown. Right? It's like a child. But this is a full-grown adult. Clearly she looks to me like she's in her mid-30s, maybe older. Full-grown adult, crying, having a meltdown because she's offended. We had that exchange, and here it is.
You a bitch.
Why do you think I'm doing this for a living? You think I was a football player? I'm a bitch, goddammit. There's nothing you can say to me I haven't said 6 inches from the mirror. You're the first name going in my suicide note tonight. Have a good night, Kamala Harris. Now's the time I need you on my side.
No, that was the most racist joke ever.
No, I got like 4 more in the chamber.
No, Kamala Harris.
Wait, don't drop the scarf, man. That was $3 at Dollar Tree, man.
So look, that is the comedian having this interaction with this lady as she's being removed by security. And as she's being removed by security, of course, she's walking and kind of being held by the arm and looks at him, and she's feet away from him, very close, and tells him that he's a racist, and then he calls her Kamala Harris. And he's also trying to be self-deprecating. He's saying, well, I look in the mirror every day. I criticize myself all the time because the way I look. He's being she doesn't care. She's not getting the social cues, ladies and gentlemen, that she's in a comedy club. I mean, who does this? The left does this. That's who does this. And so we wanted to start out this episode of Mark and the Millennials with those two clips. That comedy is not allowed on the left. Then don't go to a comedy club, right? Just like if you're on the left and there's a small business person, man or woman, who owns a small business in your community and you don't like their politics, then don't go there. I think it's stupid that you don't do that. But no one's making you go inside there. I have a friend, very good friend, very dear friend, whose parents own a packing and shipping company, right? It's a small bricks and mortar store where you go in and you can ship stuff out. So as you know, across America, you have FedEx stores, you have UPS stores, but you also have a lot of independents that are out there. And they had an independent packing and shipping company. You want to ship something to your friend, they would sell you the box and box it up for you and get it out for you. Make it easy for you to mail stuff that was bulky. And they always had a TV on. It's, kind of a big screen TV in the store on all the time because it's family business. And they were like, keep the TV on. And they had Fox News on. So they had people coming into their store saying, you need to change that channel. I'm offended that you have Fox News on. Now, and it's their store. You have these people that it's like, I'm sorry, this is my store. I get to decide what's on the TV. So don't go in the store then if you're that offended. And it's the same thing. Don't go buy a ticket to a comedy club if you think that any joke that might be said, which is very likely that there will be a joke said that offends you, will indeed offend you. And if you notice, it's only on the left. And so this poor comedian, of course, I have to admit, did a really good job trying to act like nothing was happening. I mean, you couldn't really tell that he was affected at all. And without missing a beat, it's just like, security, probably need to take her out. Yeah, that's fine. And she was blown away because once the security, if you're not watching the video, when the security went over and tapped her on the arm, she goes, "Are you serious? Are you're gonna throw me out?" It's like these are the folks, sadly, who are from a generation where they've never heard an alternative opinion to theirs. And because they're in these silos where they only hear one opinion, they're shocked that there can actually be not only another opinion, but comedy that makes fun of the opinions and the policies that they hold so dear. And comedy is supposed to be the one place where politics, you can just put your politics aside and laugh at yourself, even including when they say political jokes. So good for you. This gentleman again, his name is, what's his name again? It's Troy. Yeah, good for you, Troy, for standing up for yourself and kicking this woman out and not stepping down one bit from your comedic routine.